I was standing in the living room of the house I'd helped keep afloat 3 times before. The first time was when my dad had back surgery and couldn't work for months. The second was during COVID, when both my parents lost nearly half their retirement savings in the market crash. And the third was last spring, when the furnace broke down just before a cold snap, and I wired the contractor the full amount before they even called to ask for payment. That day, I wasn't there to fix anything. I was just helping Dad scan some paperwork for their health insurance, a task I did often. My dad, Gerald, never quite figured out the printer-scanner combo even after 10 years. He always told me I was good with tech, even though I've spent over a decade working in project management, not IT. Dad had left a stack of papers on the dining table. I quickly sorted through them, medical records, some Medicare forms, a couple of utility bills. Then my eyes caught something else, a cream-colored folder. Thick, neatly labeled in my mom's handwriting, estate plan final copy. I knew I probably shouldn't open it, but I had just paid their property tax bill the week before, $2,178 Dodger and $41, and I was planning to stop by the pharmacy after this to pick up their blood pressure refills as usual. So yes, I opened it. Inside was their will, notarized just 2 months ago. Their house was fully paid off, and their remaining retirement accounts and a life insurance policy were all left to my brother, Mason Rivers, 29. No job, still living at home. He'd dropped out of college twice and spent a few years working on music, mostly just jamming in the garage and posting clips that never got more than 200 views. My parents always said he just hadn't found his path yet. My name, Danielle Rivers, appeared only once in the entire document. One line. We love both of our children equally and trust them to care for one another. That was it. No mention of the taxes I'd paid, no word about the savings I'd transferred without being asked. Not even a thank you, just a polite way of saying I didn't need anything, and they didn't owe me anything. I didn't say a word at first, just stood there staring at the paper while the scanner hummed in the background. My hands were steady, but my breath wasn't. Dad came back in with his coffee and asked, "You getting through that stack, Danny?" I held up the folder. "Is this how it is, Dad?" I asked quietly. "Everything goes to Mason." He froze, coffee halfway to his lips. Then he sighed, a long, tired sigh that meant he already knew what I'd discovered. "It's not what you think," he said. I didn't answer because it was exactly what I thought. I didn't press him right away. Dad just stood there holding his coffee like it might somehow explain things. Then he mumbled, "We figured you'd understand." "You're doing well, Danielle. You've always done well." That's what they always said when they didn't want to explain. You've always done well. You don't get to want more. I left the folder on the table and stepped outside to get some air. The porch swing creaked softly as I sat down. I had actually replaced that swing myself 2 summers ago, the same week the deck railing gave out, and I paid a contractor to fix it because Mason said he was between paychecks again. Back then, I didn't mind. I was raised to take care of things, to step up when needed. I grew up in this very house, sharing a room with Mason until I was 13, when Dad finally finished the basement. I still remember the day we painted the walls blue together. Dad, Mason, and me. Mom brought us lemonade and said, "Look at our little team." Some team, I thought. I stayed in Nashville after college because Mom said she couldn't sleep when I was too far away. I turned down a job in Boston, even though they offered me more money and a faster path to leadership. I told myself family was more important. They never asked me to sacrifice. They just never said it wasn't optional. There were the small things, paying their car insurance when money was tight, buying groceries when the SNAP renewal was delayed, calling the credit card company when late fees piled up, and the big things, like wiring $11,000 from my savings 4 years ago to catch them up on the mortgage. I did it without hesitation. I just wanted them to feel safe, secure, not worried. And now, after everything, I was just a footnote. I sat on the porch swing, staring at the old oak tree across the yard. Mason had carved his initials into it once, MRHH, for some girl from his second high school. I wondered if he ever helped pay to have that tree trimmed. Did he even know it cost $800 last year after a storm nearly split it down the middle? Did they ever stop to think about what I gave up? Not just the money, but the ease, the peace, the life I could have built somewhere else. Or did they just see me as the one who didn't need to be asked because I always showed up first? I didn't go back inside. The porch swing creaked again beneath me, then settled. I could still hear the scanner humming through the screen door. A few minutes later, Mom stepped out. She wore the same pale blue cardigan she always put on when she needed to say something serious. The one from the Christmas I gave her a gift card and Mason gave her a burned CD. She said she loved both. She didn't sit down at first, just stood there twisting the hem of her sleeve. "Danielle," she said, not too soft, not too sharp. I didn't look up. She sat beside me anyway. "We didn't mean for you to find out like that." I nodded once. I wasn't going to break the silence for her. She exhaled, not quite a sigh, just a quiet release. "It's not that we don't love you." Still, I said nothing. Because what do you call love that forgets your name when it's inconvenient? She reached over and rested her hand on mine. Her skin was warm but trembled slightly. Mason's situation had been rougher. "You're steady, Danny. You always have been. Steady, strong, reliable." Those words sound kind until you realize they're cages, labels that let people take from you without feeling guilty. I pulled my hand back. "You could have told me," I said, my voice low but even. "You could have asked." She looked away, her gaze dropping toward the yard. That's when she spoke, quietly, as if saying it softer would make it easier to hear. "We had to co-sign. For Mason. He needed the help." The words landed like a tap, not a blow, but I heard everything in the way she said it. They hadn't just left me out of the will. They'd already tied themselves to him with real numbers, real debt, real risk. "How much?" I asked. No answer. "Mom, how much?" Still nothing. Then quietly, 35. I stood up. The wind had picked up, and the old wind chime above the porch clinked once, then was still. I looked at her, not angry, just tired. "You didn't choose him because he needed it," I said. "You chose him because you already owed it to him." Her eyes widened, but I wasn't waiting for a response. I just didn't know the price that included for losing me. I didn't text back. I didn't call. I just stopped. That week, I canceled the auto deposit I'd set up for their utility bills. I deleted the calendar reminder to reorder their medications. I paused the grocery deliveries that came every Thursday at 4 p.m. Nothing dramatic, no announcements, just a quiet shift, an empty space where I used to be. I thought they might notice right away, but a week went by. Nothing. By the second week, the first messages started coming. Dad's text came first. "Water bill is higher this month. Can you check the account?" I didn't answer. Then Mom. "We're out of the low-sodium crackers you always bring." Mason forgot. I left it unread. They weren't worried. Not yet. They just assumed I was busy or moody or tired from work. Maybe they thought I needed space. Maybe they thought I'd come back like always. In the third week, the tone changed. Danielle's mom texted, "The mortgage is due. Can you send what you usually do?" No greeting, no asking how I was. Just a line, a number, a need. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed, "Ask Mason." It's his house now. I hit send and didn't wait. 5 minutes later, she called. I let it ring. Another message came through. "Please don't be like this. We need to talk." But there was nothing left to say. They had made their decision. I was just finally living like it mattered. That evening, Mason messaged me, "Danny, don't make this a big deal. Just help them like always." Like always. Like routine. Like reflex. Like I was nothing more than reliable background noise. I wrote back, "You're the one they chose, Mason. So be the choice." He didn't reply. The next morning, I woke up to a transfer request from Mom. $3, $200, the exact amount of the overdue mortgage and penalties. No message, no note, just the number. I declined it. A minute later, the phone rang again. Then again. Then came this message. "We could lose the house if you don't help us." And finally, from Dad. "You'd let your parents go homeless." I almost laughed. They weren't homeless. They were just uncomfortable. For the first time, they were learning what I had carried all along, quietly. Without asking. I turned off my phone. They didn't lose me when they wrote me out of the will. They lost me when they assumed I'd keep giving after that. A week of silence passed after I declined the transfer request. No calls, no texts. It was the quietest I'd known them to be in years, and somehow that felt louder than any begging. I started sleeping better, waking up without checking my phone, cooking for myself and no one else. But silence never lasts in my family, not when there's blame to pass. The first sign was a voicemail from Aunt Lori. She rarely called me and always said she didn't want to get involved in family issues. But that morning, her message said, "I'm not taking sides, honey, but your mom's worried sick. Maybe just talk to them." That's when I knew they had started talking. To other people. I checked Facebook. It didn't take long to find it. A photo of the front porch with a caption that read, "We gave everything to our children." But sometimes giving isn't enough. Dozens of likes, a few concerned comments, one from Mason. Some people think family is about money. They forget it's about showing up. I closed the app, not angry, just hollow. They weren't just disappointed, they were rewriting the story, turning me from caretaker into villain because I'd stopped showing up to be used. The next afternoon, an envelope arrived at my apartment. Plain. No return address. Inside was a foreclosure notice, a copy only. Not addressed to me, but I recognized the house number. I sat with it for a moment, stared at the paper, then flipped it over and wrote on the back, "Maybe you should have left it to someone who could manage it." I didn't send it. Instead, I checked the county site. Their property was officially listed as at risk, behind on payments, no buffer left. They'd burned through the savings, probably trying to keep up appearances. Maybe they were hoping I'd cave before things got real. Mason had spent it all the money they left to him for security, stability, and his future. Gone. There was a time I would have stepped in, called the bank, negotiated a grace period, moved funds around, but now I poured myself a glass of water, sat at the kitchen table, and let the house fall without me. Sometimes you don't have to start the fire, you just have to stop carrying the water. It started small. A vague post from Mom with a sunflower emoji, a photo of her and Dad smiling on the porch. We raised them with love. We did our best. But sometimes love isn't enough. No names, no direct accusations, but I knew exactly what it meant. So did anyone who knew us. Aunt Trish commented, "You two are such amazing parents. You deserve better." Dad followed a day later with a longer post, less subtle. "We gave everything to our children. Time, money, love. We thought we raised them right, but in the end, you can't control who turns their back on you." He tagged me. No call, no message, just a public post for everyone to see. I didn't respond. I just watched it grow. Dozens of likes, family friends chiming in, some I hadn't seen since high school. One wrote, "This generation just doesn't understand sacrifice." The comments were worse. "You're such a good son. Your sister should be ashamed. They gave her everything. She just wanted more." They didn't know the truth, but they didn't want to. They wanted a story, and my family gave them one. I might have stayed silent, letting the storm pass. But then I saw her name, Kelly, my cousin, the one who once told me, "You're the glue in this family." She liked the post, left a heart emoji. No comment, just that. It hit harder than I expected. Maybe because I thought she knew better. Maybe because I thought she saw me. I closed my laptop and sat in the dark. For the first time in weeks, I felt something break. Not loud, not messy. Just a quiet, final click. They weren't just rewriting the story. They were erasing me from it. They came on a Thursday. I should have expected it. The texts hadn't worked. The money requests had been ignored. The guilt had gone stale. So they showed up. The front desk called at 10:42 a.m. "Ms. Rivers, your parents are here and a man who says he's your brother." I stood in the hallway outside my office, staring down at the floor tiles as she continued, "They're asking to come up. Said it's urgent." I took a slow breath. "Please tell them I'm not available and they're not expected." A pause. "They said they'll wait." I nodded, though no one could see it. Then I let them. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "We're downstairs. Open the door." Another followed. "We're not leaving until we talk to you." I didn't rush. I finished the meeting I was in, answered 2 emails, then walked downstairs. They were by the building entrance, standing too close together like they'd rehearsed it. Dad stood stiff, like he was holding back a lecture. Mom gripped her purse with both hands, eyes darting nervously. Mason looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. They all turned when I stepped through the door. No one spoke at first. I stayed where I was, arms crossed, calm. "Danielle," Mom said, her voice already on edge. "We need to talk." I looked at her, then passed her by. The street was quiet. A delivery van rumbled in the distance. I didn't answer. Dad cleared his throat. "You'd really let us lose the house over this?" I let the words hang. Then, "You really thought I wouldn't." He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. "You left me out. You handed everything to Mason. Now you're here, asking for the same support I gave for years without question." No one replied. Mom stepped forward, her voice softer now. "We thought you'd understand. You've always been strong." I nodded. "You used that as an excuse to forget me." Mason finally muttered something I couldn't catch. Something about me never asking for any of this. "But you took it," I said. He looked away. Dad's hands went to his hips, impatient. "We fed you, raised you. You owe us something." I almost laughed. "I paid that debt, every month, every year, and you erased me anyway." Mom's lip trembled. "We didn't mean to hurt you." I took a step closer. "Then why did you wait for me to disappear before realizing I was the one holding it all up?" They said nothing. Mason reached for the door. I held up a hand. "Don't. You're not coming up. You're not coming in. I won't be your answer this time." No yelling. No scene. Just stillness. They stood there, 3 people who once called themselves my family. And I was done trying to be seen by people who only looked when they needed something. They didn't lose me when they changed the will. They lost me when they believed I'd never walk away. I didn't block their numbers. I didn't have to. The silence I gave them was louder than anything they could shout back. They texted for a while. Mom tried soft words. Dad got colder, blaming, demanding. Mason mostly stayed quiet, except for one last message. "You think this makes you better, walking away?" I didn't reply. A few days later, I went for a walk. No purpose, just movement. My path, without meaning to, curved past the neighborhood where I grew up. The old street looked the same, cracked sidewalks, a half-painted fence, but the house. There was a for sale sign on the lawn. Faded shutters, dying grass. I stood on the sidewalk and looked at it. The porch light was off. The swing I'd fixed was gone. So was the hanging wind chime. I didn't move closer. I didn't need to see inside to know what had fallen apart. That house never held me. It was me who kept it. And now it was someone else's problem. As I turned to leave, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Once, then again. I didn't check it. I already knew the name that would be on the screen. I let it buzz, then stopped, then buzzed again. I pulled out my phone and looked. Missed call, Mom, missed call, Dad, then voicemail. I knew I'd muted the phone. I slipped it back into my coat pocket. No message needed. I already knew what it would say. I walked home through the cold, slow air of a late autumn afternoon. Not angry, not vindicated, just free. I was never their backup plan. They just liked pretending I'd never leave. If they once counted on your silence but forgot your name, just leave a heart icon. Some of us never raised our voice, but we never disappeared.